Melody Shari has taken a legal step that marks a major turning point in a long-running situation. For years, the story unfolded through interviews, social media posts, and public discussions. But now, with lawyers involved, it's no longer about opinions or emotions. It's about boundaries, accountability, and consequences. Interestingly, Melody didn't make a public announcement. The legal paperwork itself sent the message, changing the entire tone of the situation. Previously, the dynamics between Melody, Martell Holt, and Arion Curry played out mostly in the public eye, but now the conversation has moved to a space where facts and documentation matter more than emotions. Once legal action begins, every move becomes deliberate and intentional. This didn't happen overnight. After Melody and Martell's divorce, many assumed the chapter was closed. Melody focused on rebuilding her life, her children, her businesses, and her personal growth, while staying away from public disputes. But silence didn't mean nothing was happening. Martell continued making public statements, often portraying himself as misunderstood. Arion's social media posts also became increasingly pointed, hinting at frustration or being silenced. At first, fans dismissed these as personal expression, but over time, patterns emerged. Repeated behavior is no longer accidental, and legally, it carries weight. Melody's silence appears strategic rather than emotional. She documented events, collected evidence, and observed over time. Screenshots, dates, and posts all form a narrative. This careful preparation is far more effective in a legal context than impulsive public reactions. Public statements gradually shifted from personal feelings to claims that could be interpreted as facts. This is significant because statements presented as fact carry legal implications, especially when they affect reputation, parenting, or character. Mentions involving Melody's children likely crossed the line, prompting the need for formal action. Legal notices are calculated, not emotional. They address repeated patterns over time, not a single incident. Melody's move seems deliberate, with timing that coincided with her personal and professional successes, perhaps signaling a redirection of the narrative. After the legal notice, online activity changed immediately. Posts became vague, live sessions postponed. Legal boundaries bring immediate consequences. Issues like defamation, harassment, and interference are now on the table. Continued behavior could be interpreted as intentional, shifting the power dynamic completely. Melody didn't publicly explain the notice, reinforcing that this was about protection, not attention. Martell and Arion now face decisions. Continuing the same behavior risks consequences, while stepping back acknowledges boundaries. Every action carries weight, and freedom to speak openly is no longer the same. For fans, this transforms how the situation is viewed. What once felt like reality TV drama now has real-life stakes. Supporters see Melody's decision as a demonstration of patience, strength, and self-respect, protecting her peace, children, and reputation. Even as supporters of Martell and Arion defend them, the need for legal action naturally raises questions and pressures those involved. Past posts and interviews are now being revisited with fresh context, and subtle details are under scrutiny. This legal step makes it clear. The rules have changed. The narrative is no longer about who speaks the loudest online, but about strategy, documentation, and accountability. Melody's quiet action is arguably the strongest response, showing that silence can be preparation rather than weakness. As the situation unfolds, every post, comment, and appearance matters. Boundaries have been clearly set, and the balance of power has shifted. The story moving forward will be defined by decisions, restraint, and accountability, not social media arguments. Melody Shari's decision to involve legal representation signals a clear shift in the story. This is no longer about online debates, opinions, or reality TV drama. Legal action introduces structure, evidence, and consequences. Once the paperwork was filed, the dynamic immediately changed. What was once casual commentary and heated discussions is now a matter of formal accountability. Every statement, every post, and every interaction can carry weight in this new context. For years, the situation seemed to exist largely in the public sphere. Fans, followers, and critics dissected interviews, social media posts, and casual mentions. Martell Holt continued to speak publicly, sometimes portraying himself as misrepresented or misunderstood. Arion Curry's posts, captions, and subtle references appeared at key moments, hinting at tension or frustration. At first, many brushed these moments off as personal expression or fan speculation, but patterns started emerging. Repeated mentions, carefully timed posts, and statements coinciding with Melody's milestones no longer seemed random. In the eyes of both observers and legal professionals, repeated behavior is significant. It demonstrates consistency and intent. Melody's silence in the public arena may have appeared passive, but in reality, it reflects strategic thinking. Rather than reacting impulsively, she documented events, collected evidence, and observed behavior over time. Screenshots, dates, captions, and interviews all serve as a detailed record. Legal experts often emphasize that careful documentation and patience can be far more effective than emotional or immediate reactions, particularly when the goal is long-term protection. As time passed, the tone of public statements began to shift. Comments moved from personal opinions to statements framed as facts. This transition is critical because statements framed as factual carry legal significance, especially when they involve reputation, parenting, or professional opportunities. Mentions of Melody's children, who are private individuals, further escalated the seriousness of the situation. When children become part of a narrative, the stakes increase, and formal measures often become necessary. Legal action is deliberate. Notices are rarely sent based on a single incident. They respond to patterns of behavior over time. This ensures the actions taken are both justified and enforceable. Melody's legal move appears carefully calculated, aligning with her personal and professional milestones. Some observers interpret this timing as intentional, a demonstration of control over the narrative, while maintaining focus on her growth and achievements. The response online was immediate. Social media activity became cautious, vague posts replaced detailed commentary, and live events or appearances were postponed. Introducing legal boundaries changes the game completely. What was once treated as free expression now carries potential consequences. Defamation, harassment, and interference with reputation are all issues addressed through legal channels. Continued activity after a notice is served could be interpreted as intentional defiance, significantly altering the power dynamic. Importantly, Melody chose not to make a public announcement about the legal notice. This restraint communicates that the move was about protection, not attention. It suggests her goal was not to provoke a reaction, but to set clear boundaries and safeguard her reputation, children, and personal life. For Martell and Arion, the stakes have changed. Every public statement or social media post now carries potential legal ramifications. Their decisions moving forward, whether to step back or continue with prior behavior, will directly influence how the situation unfolds. The margin for error is now smaller, and the consequences are real. For fans and observers, this moment redefines the story. What was once perceived as entertainment or drama now carries real-life implications. Melody's supporters view her actions as a demonstration of strength, patience, and self-respect. By prioritizing long-term strategy over immediate reaction, she has set a standard for handling conflict that goes beyond social media spectacle. Even supporters of Martell and Arion are forced to consider the implications. If no inappropriate behavior had occurred, legal action would arguably be unnecessary. This alone affects public perception, placing pressure on those involved to respond thoughtfully. Meanwhile, past posts and interviews are being re-examined in light of the new legal context. Statements that seemed harmless before are now reviewed with scrutiny, highlighting the importance of context, timing, and pattern in legal matters. The introduction of legal boundaries alters how everyone involved interacts with the story. Social media commentary, interviews, and appearances are now weighed more carefully. Power shifts from those who speak the loudest to those who have documentation, evidence, and legal authority. Melody's quiet but decisive action demonstrates that strategic patience can be more powerful than public confrontation. This moment also serves as a reminder of the human element behind public figures. Celebrities have families, businesses, and reputations to protect. When boundaries are repeatedly crossed, legal action becomes a necessary tool for protection. The notice represents more than paperwork. It's a signal that certain lines will no longer be ignored. Looking ahead, the story will no longer be defined by social media reactions or reality TV-style drama. Instead, it will be shaped by decisions, restraint, and accountability. Every action carries weight, and every choice influences the narrative. Melody has changed the balance of power, demonstrating that silence and strategy can be a formidable response. Ultimately, this situation underscores a larger lesson. Real life does not operate like reality television. Actions have consequences, and preparation, documentation, and careful responses often speak louder than public outcry or emotional reactions. Melody's approach may serve as a model for handling conflicts in high-stakes public environments, emphasizing patience, strategic thinking, and protection over impulse. As this story continues to unfold, fans and observers alike are watching every detail, from subtle changes in language to shifts in timing. The stakes are higher and the consequences are real. The chapter moving forward will not be written through arguments and drama, but through deliberate choices and accountability. In this new phase, the dynamics have shifted and the balance of power has clearly changed.